Okay, here is our info session for today. How sleep works. So there is a book that I really liked that helped me plan this program called, it's funny that we are Rest to Rise, and this was Wake Up to Sleep, but it was sort of a similar theme, written by Charlie Morley, and he does yoga nidra practices and sleep education. And he says that people come to him with all sorts of reasons why they're not sleeping. And one of the things that everybody really likes and says is very helpful is understanding how sleep works, because people think that there's something wrong with them. And then they find out, oh, that's how sleep works. That's just normal. So in brief, we're going to go through the stages of sleep. Sleep is a 4-stage process. And we cycle through these during the night. So when you first get into bed at night and then you settle down, you begin to fall asleep. Maybe if you just nod off for a moment in the afternoon, that's stage 1. Or sometimes at the end of a yoga class in meditation, you kind of feel that you're drifting in and out. That's stage 1 of sleep. That's falling asleep. This is one of the benefits of yoga nidra. It helps us to get better at that stage of sleep. Normal but strange things that happen during this time. Does this ever happen to anybody when you're sort of drifting off and you feel like you're literally falling and you kind of jerk and wake yourself up? That is normal. There is a theory that in evolution, way back in our evolution, it would prevent us from when, I don't know, our very far back ancestors maybe slept in trees. That would prevent you from falling out of a tree. I don't know. It's an idea. I wasn't there. So it's normal. Any kind of jerking kind of movements, or when you watch someone else fall asleep, and again, this sort of like weird, abnormal muscular thing that happens, totally normal. This is called a hypnagogic or hypnagogic. Sometimes it's pronounced a hypnagogic jerk, that your muscles literally jerk as you are in this hypnagogic stage of sleep, just starting to drift off. Stage 2 is light sleep. And I think it's important to note that all stages of sleep are important. So it's not like light sleep's not as good, like the Diet Coke of sleep. They're all important. Light sleep is good, deep sleep is good, everything is good. The main benefit of light sleep is that it's good for your brain. All stages are good for your brain, but this is where they think when people are sleeping that your brain sort of refines its neural connections. So connections that have been made during the day, it kind of goes through a cleaning and pruning process during light sleep. So stage 1, we're falling asleep. Stage 2, we are asleep. Sleep is light. Stage 3, we have deep sleep. And again, we think, okay, deep sleep, that's the good stuff. And it is good, but it's not like extra strength sleep. All sleep is important, but the benefit of deep sleep is this is where a lot of tissue repair happens, and it's good for your immune system. We are very deeply asleep, which means that we are at our most vulnerable during this time. And there probably isn't a lot of moving around of the body during this or during really any stage of sleep, except for that starting to fall asleep or waking up time of day. So in other words, our muscles are still, so they are repairing. And then our 4th stage of sleep is REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. This is dream sleep. So this is where, yes, there may be some movements of the body, but we're not acting out our dreams. So the eyes will move, as the name suggests, rapid eye movement. And there may be some twitching or moving around. If you've ever seen a dog sleep and they do those funny little running movements, or with their mouths closed, like they're trying to bark, they're going through dream sleep. They're going through rapid eye movement sleep. And it might be the same for us. Generally not by the time we reach adulthood. You can't really tell that someone's sleeping or someone's dreaming, except for the fact that their breathing will be faster and their eyes will be moving. Usually not, depending on who you are, usually not talking in your sleep or sleepwalking, that is more in the realm of abnormal. Common, but abnormal. So if you are dreaming and there's some movement, some small movement, totally normal. The benefit of dream sleep, there are lots of theories about dreams. So there is this idea that, you know, those dreams that we have that nobody likes, those stress dreams or nightmares, there's actually a theory that those are sort of working to our benefit. So there was a study done on dreams leading into exam season for university students. And the students that had more stressful dreams relating to exams actually performed better on exams. And the thinking is this, that you have a dream that you can't find the exam room. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? You go and you double check the exam schedule, right? Like that it's sort of our brain's way of rifling through the notes of the day and kind of figuring out what's going on. So the benefit of our dream sleep, okay, it's fun. It kind of gives us something interesting to think about. You might really get into dreams, recording your dreams, looking for dream signs. But the scientific benefit is that it helps us with memory, learning, and sort of digesting the day's emotions. So those are our 4 stages: falling asleep, light sleep, deep sleep, dream sleep. They all have their own benefits. It is the part of the process is that we cycle through all of them. So we start to fall asleep, we move into light sleep, our body is still. Deep sleep, our body stays still. Dream sleep, we might have some small twitches. Now, by this point, we've been lying still for a prolonged period of time. We wake up again just for, you know, a moment to roll over or resettle, that sort of thing. And then we go through all the 4 stages again. So it is normal and in fact beneficial to be aware of waking up during the night. One number I found was roughly 9 to 12 times a night. You'll be aware of that kind of waking up and rolling over. It doesn't mean you're not getting a good night's sleep. This is how sleep works. It is normal to wake up feeling groggy. We looked at circadian rhythm last week. That's just the normal process of waking up. It is normal to have the afternoon slump, no matter how good your day's sleep is. And it is normal to remember or not remember your dreams. One thing I will illustrate though is when you sleep at night, the first chunk of the night, so if we sleep 8 hours, the first 4-ish hours is mostly dream sleep. And then the second half of the night, maybe roughly 4 hours. Sorry, did I say mostly deep sleep at first? And then the second half of the night is mostly dream sleep. Dreaming is so important to our brain that if you are underslept, so you're only sleeping 6 hours a night, your brain will go through a catch-up process. So if you let yourself Saturday night just crash and sleep in as late as you like on Sunday, you will have a lot more dream sleep. So if you notice, you know, I wasn't getting a lot of sleep and then I let myself sleep and I had just the wildest dreams. Again, that is totally in the realm of normal. Okay. Any thoughts, questions, or ideas before we get moving? Okay, I will send this out in the notes as well. Let's begin. We're going to start with a mudra today. So if you are new to this, mudras are yoga poses we do with our hands. And we are going to do one called Sun Seal Mudra. And it suggests, I have this deck of cards. It suggests that we visualize the lightness of the early morning sun and feel its inspiration. So to do this mudra, we take our thumb to our ring finger and we can just kind of relax it there. We can relax it on our laps. I'm going to give us a little music for our time together. And we don't really need to do anything with this hand position. It represents, like the card says, the lightness of the morning sun and its inspiration. We can close our eyes here. If it helps you to stay awake, of course, we could keep the eyes open. That might be a better start to your morning. Yogi's choice, whatever you like. If you are by chance near a window and it is the early morning where you are, noticing the light of the early morning sun. Maybe seeing if we can feel that sense of early morning inspiration. Option to bring to mind something we're feeling inspired to do today. We may notice the warmth of our hands, maybe the warmth of the space that we're in, or our internal body temperature is feeling quite warm. And we can hold this mudra as long as it's comfortable and feels appropriate. If our hands start to get cranky or tired, we can release it. But let's move our awareness on to our breath. We'll do our 3-part breath. I think we did this last week for both classes. As we inhale, imagining that we can fill our lungs from bottom to top, the same as we would fill a glass of water. So with each breath in, noticing first the movement of belly, then ribs, then chest, and with our exhale, releasing. And we can add counting to our breath. So we're inhaling 1, 2, 3. Exhaling 3, 2, 1. Maybe we can encourage our breath to deepen by gradually increasing the count. Inhaling to 4, exhaling to 4, inhaling to 5, exhaling to 5. Let's give it several rounds of breath here. And we're sort of working that comfort edge, trying to increase our breath each time without forcing too hard. We notice that we are carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. Let's see if we can release some of that weight, dropping shoulders back and down. Let's do a bit more of an active breath here. Inhaling, deep breath. On our next exhale, we're going to use our abs, pull them in to help push your breath out. And then we'll hold on to some of that contraction. So in our 3-part breath, we've kind of taken away the bottom part of our lung capacity. Now we're going to take a deep breath into our ribs while holding some of that containment in our abs. So we can still get a deep, full breath, lungs expanding, ribs opening in all directions, but we have some contraction in the abs to provide internal support. Well, let's do one more like this. Draw those core muscles in. Keeping with our rib breath. We'll go ahead and open our eyes. And we'll keep going with this feeling of the morning sun. We'll do single nostril breath. So traditionally in Ayurveda, we're supposed to wake up and do alternate nostril breathing and then just right nostril breathing. So let's do a few rounds of each and then we will move the body. I know we've been sitting a little bit already. So go with me. We'll take a big breath in and we're gonna plug our nostrils. Doesn't matter which one we plug, we're gonna breathe out, breathe in, and then we're gonna switch. Going at our own perfect pace, whatever our natural length of breath is for you, breathe out, breathe in, then switch. Feeling the expansion of our ribs, some control in the abs. Tall spine, relaxing shoulders down and back. And I'll mirror you. So the next time your left nostril is blocked, let's stay there. So we'll keep the left nostril blocked and we're just gonna breathe in and out through the right. So this is our fiery, sunny side, supposed to build heat in the body, wake up our appetite before meals, and help us to wake up in the morning. If we want to make it fancier, we can think of it more in a circular motion. So we inhale right, we switch and exhale left. Always in through the right and out through the left. Noticing how this makes you feel, if it's working. Let's do one more breath in. And then we can release. And we're ready to move. We might want to shake those hands off or make a fist and release. We can roll our shoulders. So no fancy technique, just kind of getting some of the creaks out. Let's relax those shoulders down and back. And if we are seated, we can come to standing, of course. If you'd like to stay seated, modifying anyway. And I'll try to think of some ways to help us modify for different options with mobility and fitness. But for now, we can come to just a neutral position. Like I said, either seated or standing. And we'll start by circle sweeping our arms. So whenever we get there, taking our time, we'll inhale up overhead. And exhaling, hands down into heart center. That's our pattern. So it sort of makes sense. In traditional yoga, there's this idea of directions of the body, movements of the body, winds in the body, kind of like qi in traditional Chinese medicine. And there is an upward moving wind, which is what we are tapping into at this moment to help us wake up for our day. We can lift up through the inner arches of our feet, pulling up and in through our abdominal muscles and our pelvic floor or pelvic core. And we can do it with our eyes as well. So let's look up as we reach our arms up. This simple little trick is actually supposed to help us wake up as well. Taking the eyes up sends the message to the brain that it is time to be attentive and alert. Let's add on here. You can stay facing forward. I'll show you from the side. We'll sit down and back into chair flow. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Now, if by chance anybody at home or in the recording would ever like to do this from a chair, you can actually just kind of hover and then sit back down, hover and sit back down. So using a smaller range of motion, but still the same muscular direction. Let's hold at the bottom. We'll stay here. Let's make sure we can see our toes. Give them a little wiggle, and we'll pulse. Let's go for 10, 9, 8. Last 3, 2, 1. We'll take a big breath up and bring hands into heart. Perfect. We will do a variation of sun salutations. Again, this idea, we did a sun mudra, a sun breath. We're going to do a sun body movement. We'll alternate a step back, right or left, doesn't matter. We step back. And then we step to the top of the mat or the top of your space if you're working without a mat by chance. Opposite leg stepping back and then stepping forward. We can inhale back and then we're exhaling forward. Moving, of course, at our own perfect pace. Maybe we're noticing some popping or creaking. Maybe a stretch in the back calf or the hip. And lift out our arms. We'll inhale to open, show your muscles. In cactus arms, we can spread our fingers, and then exhale to bring it back in. And to be more action ready, we'll keep our body weight in our front heel. So if your body weight transfers to your whole back leg, there's sort of this falling backwards, more like we're getting ready to run a race. Let's keep our weight in our front foot. This puts us in more of a kind of active body state. All right, we'll give it a couple more here. We'll come back to mountain pose. And we'll do one more variation of a sun salutation. It looks like this. We'll inhale up. We can tap our palms overhead. Exhaling, coming into a small range of motion in our forward fold. Then we're inhaling up and sitting down and back into chair pose. So that's our pattern. Inhale up, exhale down. Choosing whatever range of motion we like to do. So you could also do this at your desk as a desk workout, leaning over your legs. As a little break in the middle of the day. Or we can do it here, feeling the lightness of the morning sun, maybe more inspiration in our energy level. And yes, if we're feeling warm, of course, we could do a deeper range of motion. Some of us might like a really deep forward fold, that's okay. Let's give it one more here. Returning to mountain, maybe taking hand to heart and hand to belly, noticing if our heartbeat is picking up, if our breath is picking up, and if we still have our core control, our abs are helping us to stand tall.
And now, take a very deep breath and quiet your mind.
Perfect. We'll release our hands. Let's do some movements of the spine. So we'll start with hands to hips, and we'll go through a lateral flexion. Let's go ahead and press down more through our right foot. Reach the right arm up and open the right side of the ribs. We can take a breath in. Exhaling, we pull from the belly through center, and let's go the other way. Pressing the left foot down as we open the left side of the ribs, and coming back through center. So it's movements of the spine, which means that we could modify if our shoulders aren't really happy reaching overhead. That would be another option. But if we do like to do a big reach overhead, of course we can. That's up to you. Stretching in both directions. Pressing down, reaching up. Let's go just once more. We'll come back to this one later. Return to neutral. Awesome. We'll go through a standing cat and cow. So maybe a bit more like we used to do in aerobics videos. Interlacing our fingers, we can tuck the chin, tuck the tail, stretching the upper back. Well, let's take a breath in.
Welcome to the Leading
Perfect. And then we'll move in the opposite direction, reaching our hands back, untucking the tail, shortening our back muscles, squeezing shoulder blades together, reaching chest and chin up.
And now,
Take a breath in.
take a very deep breath.
Let's go a couple more times like that. So we'll inhale as we stretch forward. Exhale to switch positions, and then inhale as we lift the chest. Maybe we feel some heat of the morning sun building in our core. Let's pause here in our cow position. We can even take our fists to sort of our high-waisted back pockets, drawing the elbows together, getting a bit more range of motion here. Coming back through center. Let's do one more flowing one to open up. We'll step our feet wide, kind of like a ballerina or a sumo squat. Nice big step open, and we're turning our toes in the same range of motion. So if you're in the center of the room that you're in, your toes probably point towards the front corners of the room, or maybe towards the corners of your mat. And let's go ahead and inhale up and out. And keeping with the same theme, we're going to circle the shape of the sun, coming down through center. Perfect. Going at whatever speed you like to go. Inhale up, exhale down. Maybe we're noticing some stretch and strength in the inner thighs. We could add a little bit of a forward fold here as well. So we're really shifting our butts back to make room for our bodies to drop down in the center. Awesome. Keeping in mind this upward wakeful energy, we can take our eyes to the sky each time we reach up. If by chance that gives you any kind of vertigo or dizziness, just look straight forward. All right, let's meet at the bottom of the next one. Whenever we get there, we can take our hands to our thighs and drop a little lower for some more inner thigh stretch. And we might like to dip one shoulder at a time. Turn our toes forward, and we'll shift side to side in a side lunge for some inner thigh stretch. So we can shift to one side, stretching the right inner thigh. Perfect. Come up through center, and shift to the other side. So we're staying mostly forward in the body. It's just a side to side movement. Let's keep going. Technically, this is more of a moon energy than a sun energy anytime we move side to side. But we're probably still feeling quite warm at this point. We can take our hands to the thigh or to the floor. And a little change. Let's bend both knees together. We'll stay in this forward folded movement, getting some stretch down the back of the legs. And then we might like some freedom of movement. So bending both knees deeper or less deep. Folding forward more or less. Since our heart rate is up, we probably don't want to let the head hang too much. So just keep an eye on your blood pressure if you get any kind of dizziness. If you do feel dizzy, just keeping the head up is probably an easy fix. In the next round of breath or so, we'll start to make our way to the top. Walk our feet together. You can step wide on your mat. You can step back up. Let's take a deep breath up. We'll bring hands to heart. All right, we are going to do a really energizing kind of movement. You might find it has a different impact on you, but let's just notice whatever that is. A big swinging movement, like we have a medicine ball in our hands and we are slamming it on the floor. So I'll show you one and then feel free to hop in with me. We'll do about 12. So we inhale up and then like we are slamming a medicine ball on the floor, a sharp exhale. Perfect. All right, here we go. Inhale up and then let all the air out. You might like to exhale with a pursed lip, making some noise. So we actually have a bit of a longer inhale and a shorter exhale here. I have been told that sends the message to the brain to speed up your heart rate and energize. All right, let's give it 3 more. Last one here. All right. And then we might just want to let the arms swing out, let some of that tension go. We've done some energizing, kind of erratic movement. We're going to do some steadying movement. Again, let's give those shoulders a big roll, squeeze them up, and rest them down and back. And we'll come into our lateral flexion again. We can take our right arm up. We'll hold our lateral stretch for a few rounds of breath. We may even like to bend the elbow to get more stretch for the tricep. And as we cool down from that burst of movement, focusing on taking a deep breath into the right side of the ribs. Come back up through center. Maybe again, we need to squeeze and release. If we've started to lose finger in our hands, that is normal. And let's take it the other way. Big reach up, opening the left side of the ribs. We may like to bend the elbow, but we don't have to. One more breath to expand the left side of the ribs. And we'll bring it back through center. We've done this one already, but we'll hold a little longer so we can interlace and stretch forward, rounding our backs in one direction, getting a stretch for probably feeling it more in the upper back than anything. Reverse the movement, reaching our hands back, and we may like to interlace at this point, lifting the heart forward. And again, we're holding and using our breath to get a greater expansion in the area that we're stretching, which at this point happens to be the chest. This is another great one we can do in the middle of the day at our desks. If you have a desk job, or even if you don't, if you feel like you're kind of in a slump in the middle of the day, keeping the eyes open, looking up, and back bending can help to lift our energy. All right, come back through center. We can release. Let's add some rotation. We'll hold in our twist. Twisting because we're turning the head in a different direction. We may like some help with balance, so I will show you an option if you have a chair or I don't know, a table or even a wall near you. Let's go ahead and take the right foot forward in a lunge. We'll just do a twisted lunge. Probably most people don't need a chair, but if we want it, we have it. So let's take one foot way back and one foot forward. Sorry, I'm coming out of the frame. There we go. We can inhale our arms up and overhead. So we start from a really tall place, lifting the chest, dropping the shoulders. And if we do on our chair, we can turn towards our chair, or we can bring our hands to heart with the fleshy side touching our chest, aiming our chest towards the side wall. Pausing and holding for a few rounds of breath. noticing probably that we feel maybe a little tighter. We can't take such a deep breath in. That's okay. We've lost some of our lung capacity because of the twist, but it can still help to stretch certain areas in our rib cage. Let's take one more breath here, staying tall. Come back through center when we're ready. Now we're stepping forward. We'll switch straight to the other side. So again, if you are using the wall, maybe moving somewhere else in your room. If we're using a sturdy chair. Now we're ready to take the left foot forward and the right foot back. Let's start by lengthening out. So really pressing down through that front heel, growing taller. And we're twisting towards the side wall. We can take hands to chair wall, whatever we need, or maybe the fleshy side of our thumbs to the sternum and then turning our sternum towards the side wall. Holding steady. There may be a big urge to really turn the head far. Again, if that makes you dizzy, we can just keep the eyes forward. So we're focusing the movement on the rib cage. Stay tall, one more breath in and out. Ready to come back through. You can step it in. Using or not using support, we can give our legs a shake. We've done a fair amount of strengthening work. We'll do a pyramid stretch here. So we'll step back, not a gigantic warrior one, halfway there. Again, we'll stay tall. Taking a straight spine forward. Coming forward until we feel maybe a stretch in the hamstring. We might need to straighten the front leg. I like to do more of a strengthening variation, taking hands to heart or even arms alongside the body. If you feel like you really want a lot more stretch sensation, of course, we could walk the hands down the leg or maybe even to the floor. Holding steady. Let's take one more breath in, and then with our exhale, we'll pull from our core muscles to bring us up to standing. Fantastic. Let's step the opposite foot forward. Opposite foot back. Starting from a tall position, coming forward with a straight spine. This side might feel different than the first side, right? Every leg is different. We might want to straighten the leg sooner, maybe come lower, maybe stay higher. So listening to our hamstring and then responding appropriately. One more inhale, and then with our exhale, we'll pull from our core muscles, hugging in, back up to standing. All right. Might feel good to give it a little shake. This one also works really well seated. Another one that's great as a midday break if you do spend a lot of time either walking or seated. We'll do a figure four. So if you do want to hold on to something, I'll show that again. We'll take one leg across the other, either our ankle or our thigh, making either the number 4 or a backwards number 4, depending on how you're looking at yourself. And we can sit, or we can use our support to help us. So it looks a lot like our chair pose, and there's no one perfect way to do it. We might like the legs more closed or more open, higher up or lower down. But the idea with this is to get some stretch through the outer hip and thigh, our glute, IT area that tends to tighten up if we're either active or sedentary. So most of us can benefit from this most days. Let's see if we can stay another round of breath. And again, we'll use our strength to press up to standing. Might feel good to give a little shake out. And we're ready for the other side. So using whatever you're using to help with your balance, or maybe nothing at all, but it should be something sturdy. A wheelie chair is not ideal. And then we're making the number 4 either across the ankle or thigh. Could be a smaller angle or a larger angle. Might need to take a couple tries to get a good spot. But ideally we feel some sort of stretch in the bum, the outside of the hip and thigh area. When we found that perfect spot, we can hang out here, trying to breathe steadily. Maybe stretching our exhale out a little bit. So maybe we're inhaling for 4, exhaling for 5. We need to readjust as we loosen up. And when we are ready to come back to standing, using strength, to straighten up, maybe give it a little shake. Let's come back into our chest and shoulders. We'll do another back bend. Again, this is supposed to boost our energy. We'll start with dancer's pose. So let's take one side and we'll draw a big circle up, around, and back. Easing our joints into this. So the idea is that if we gradually move into this large range of motion, it's a bit easier once we get there. And also that circular movements are calming for the nervous system. We've got 2 birds with 1 stone here. You might notice some tight or sticky points you want to move more slowly through. We'll leave our arm up, around, and back, and we can take a fist or a flat hand again to that high-waisted pocket. We might like to hold something for balance, but we're bending and straightening whichever arm we were just doing. So our right arm, bending and straightening our right leg. Same idea, we're easing ourselves into this. And especially if you just woke up, we're tighter first thing in the morning, especially if you slept curled in a fetal position, it's harder to open up and out. So we're taking our time getting into this one. We can squeeze the back of the leg to encourage more stretch in the front of the leg. And then when we're ready, finding our balance, we can hold open, or yes, we may like to hold on to our ankle. For more stretch sensation, squeeze the back of the shoulder, squeeze your bum, squeeze the back of your leg. We may like to open up. So let's find some way that we can feel successful and be okay with this pose. Finding that moment of flight and success, so we can always reset if we fall out, really stick it, and then decide when to come out of it. Okay, here we go. Are we ready for the second side? If you're holding on to something, you might need to move it. We're going to start with our big arm circles. We'll be moving more slowly. Is there any places where we feel restriction? You got it. Let's bring it all the way up, around, and back. Taking our hand or fist to our sacrum. We're ready to bend and straighten. a leg on the same side of the body. So if you just did the left arm with me, left leg, holding on for balance if we need it. Gradually easing our quad into the stretch. Squeezing the back of the leg to help us get there. And when we're ready, let's finally make our way into dancers. If we want to grab our ankle, we can. Ideally, we're holding the ankle, not the top of the foot. We can hold something for support, but let's find a variation that we can be okay with. Maybe we're feeling super successful. You love this pose. Maybe it's tough. That's okay. If we fall out, we reset. We give it a second shot. We want to train success in the brain. The brain remembers the last thing we did. So if you fall out, it's going to remember that. Do it one more time, find a moment of success, and then the brain and body will remember that moment of success. And we're ready to come out. Great. All right. Let's take our feet wide, and we'll do a wide-legged forward fold here. I know some of us are in different arrangements at home. You can actually use a table or the back of the chair or a wall for this one, and it can add on really nicely. So I'll show you both. We can take our hands to our hips with our feet wide and all 10 toes pointed forward. We'll shift our weight back. So we could support our weight on our thighs, our shins, the floor, or if we have a chair or table, that's just another way to catch ourselves. We can hold stable, or we can have some freedom of movement here again, shifting side to side, lifting and lowering with the breath, or any other touches that you like. And if we're not sure what to do, we can hold and notice how we feel, if we're getting any sort of messages from the body. And then responding to whatever we notice. We can take a deep breath in, long exhale. Maybe give the head a little shake. And so that we're not flopping around too much, let's use an exhale to come back to standing so that we're drawing our abdominals in, using our strength to come back up. We can walk our feet together. Well, let's take one more circle sweep breath, bringing hands to heart. All right, so I'll give us the option to do a seated pose. You may like to sit on a chair or on the floor. I'll show you what we're gonna do before we get there. I'll take a seat on the floor. But we'll do a wide-legged forward fold. So we could do it in a chair, which gives us just sort of a different angle for the body. If we do it on the floor, same idea, we take our legs wide. We can start with our legs bent or straight. Since we are channeling the early morning sun, feeling warm and lifted, and then yes, if we want to go forward, go for it. We'll reverse this movement. So again, seated on the floor or in a chair. We can take our hands in behind us, pressing down to lift our hearts. This will be our last pose, our last back bend of the day. Option to lift the chin a bit. We should still be able to swallow and breathe comfortably though. And we now know that if we look up with our eyes open, it's more energizing. And I'll also say, if we look up, but we close the eyes, it's supposed to feel more peaceful and relaxing. Either one is totally okay. Let's hold this sensation of being uplifted. We'll finish in a seated position. And let's come back to our 3-part breath. We may again like our mudra for the sun. If we're warm enough already, we can just rest our hands. But if we like this one, it's the ring finger. Closing our eyes. Option also to take hand to chest or belly. Coming back to our 3-part breath. Inhaling belly, then ribs, then chest. Exhaling, releasing. Noticing how we're feeling at this moment, mentally, physically, emotionally. Option to choose a word or several words to describe how we feel. Maybe noticing a lifting sensation on our inhale. Holding on to that sense with our exhale. Visualizing the lightness of the early morning sun and receiving its inspiration. Let's release our hand position. And we'll finish together. We can inhale, arms overhead, and exhaling, hands through heart center. Thank you, of course, for being here this morning. And from my light to yours, namaste. Thank you very much. Feel free to head out on your way, or I will be here if you want to hang out or ask any questions.